10th and 11th grade parent night. I am Kevin Harrington. I'm the principal here at Cottage High School. And we have some other staff members that we'll introduce here shortly this evening. We are recording this, so if you could keep your microphones muted, that would keep the camera from popping to you during the recording. So if you don't want to appear in the recording, please keep your microphones muted. Feel free to use the chat feature for any questions you might have, and then at the end of the meeting, we'll stop recording, and then we'll open it up for questions as well. So if you want to just hang out and ask your questions at the end, feel free to do that as well. So this is an interesting year because it's like we're starting the year bringing students back in April while we're trying to wind down the year and move on and plan for the next year. So welcome to, I guess, welcome back to school, and then welcome to the end of your school year as well, all at the same time. So once again, I'm Kevin Harrington. I'm the principal here, and I'll call on our staff members and let them introduce themselves and go ahead and share what they do with us this evening. So why don't we go with Vicki and then Rex.
Hi, everyone. I'm Vicki Evans, and this year I have the freshmen and the seniors, which means next year I'll rotate and have 9th and 10th graders. Glad you were able to make it tonight.
Welcome, everybody. My name is Rex Basting. I am this year's 10th and 11th grade counselor and next year's 11th and 12th grade counselor.
Thanks. And then Lacey and Tammy.
Hello, everyone. I'm Lacey Guest. I'm the College and Career Coordinator. So I work mostly with juniors and seniors. So I'm excited to get to know all of your students next year.
Hi, everybody. I'm Tammy Sandifer, and I'm the new assistant principal here at Cottage Grove High School. And I'm another friendly face. So I'm assigned to 9th graders this year, but I am totally happy to help 10th and 11th graders too.
And Ricardo.
Hi there, my name is Ricardo Flores. I'm a business teacher here at Cottage Grove High School and also the leadership teacher. And then I'm the department head for the Career Technical Education elective. So I'll be chatting about that in just a little bit.
So this year we had to do things a little bit differently for our registration as we plan for next year. So counselors put together a presentation, and that information was distributed in either your students' English language arts class or their social studies class. And with that, they got the registration form to register for classes next year. We still have some students that have not submitted that and turned those in. So if it's probably not you because you guys are here, but if your student has not done that yet, please encourage them to finish that up because we want to make sure that they get their appropriate elective choices and don't get stuck in classes that they don't necessarily want to be in. You can find our registration handbook on our website under departments and then under enrollment. So that's where you can find that stuff. And then those can be turned in to the counselors. And if you have questions, you can certainly call or email the counselors directly. This year, the Smarter Balance testing is still up in the air. So the state of Oregon, the Oregon Department of Education, filed a waiver asking to not have to take the test this year to the U.S. Department of Education. So remember, this is a federal mandate about accountability and testing. It's not something that we choose to do here in South Lane or that the state of Oregon necessarily chooses to do itself, but it's part of the accountability measure. That waiver was denied. So it's up in the air what testing is going to look like or if we're going to have it. The Oregon Department of Education is still going back and forth with the U.S. Department of Education. And so we should get more information, hopefully very soon, because like I said, we're almost at the end of the school year, as you guys are well aware. And then the last thing I want to do is I want to push our College Now, our dual credit opportunities. So we have several classes that students can take for college credit. Most of those are through Lane Community College. Everything from English and math and science and social studies to our elective choices, computer science, computer fundamentals, and really the gamut of everything here and in between. And so should students choose to do that, you can knock out some of those college credits now while you're in school. And so the plan is for next year to go back to our trimester schedule with our traditional 7 periods, 7 classes every day, and be on trimesters. So hopefully things keep trending in the way they're currently trending, and that's something that we will be able to do. So that is the current plan. Thank you for that question, Amy. And now I'm going to turn it over to Ricardo.
All right, there we go. You think I'm on a computer all day and I still can't find my little mouse here. As I said before, I'm the department head for the career and technical education electives at Cottage Grove High School. So, and I'm not sure how many of you have heard of those, but probably a lot of you have. So what these are is they're state-approved programs that create pathways for your students to go through school so that when they graduate, they're headed to a post-secondary something. So you can see that we have 9 different programs of study that are showing there. And if you're like me, you might need a second set of glasses to read the little print on the right-hand side. But it gives you an idea. There will be a flyer that'll come out. Probably each of you will be able to see. But each of these programs then have to go through a process, one, to get a teacher approved. They have to lead to high-wage, high-demand jobs. They have to be connected to post-secondary opportunities. And so like Mr. Harrington was just talking about college now, a lot of these are either aligned to go to a post-secondary college or schooling of some sort, or you actually get the college now credit for taking the class at the same time. So so they all lead to some sort of post-secondary connection. So we have fantastic programs. This is 10th and 11th grade parent night, I believe. So it's a great chance for you to start looking forward for your student. The great thing about these programs is they create such good relevance to a lot of the things that you do, right? The math classes that you're taking become way more relevant as you're working with those numbers, either in cabinetry and construction or in business and management, or any of those things. All of your writing then is much more important. So we have some fantastic programs, and make sure you look into them. And if you have any questions, then please let us know.
All right, this is me now. And I have another slide just after this we'll get to. I just wanted to quickly go over the graduation requirements. I know people have wondered, have those changed with COVID? They have not. We still require 75 credits to graduate. And you can see there it says essential skills testing. That's what Mr. Harrington was talking about. We're not sure about that yet. But 75 credits, and we're still doing the senior board next year. As far as I know, and everything, as long as everything goes as planned, we're going back to having our senior boards. And that's something that your student will work on in class, in school. And I know it's a big stress for a lot of students, but it's not as big of a deal as I think they make it out to be. So don't let them stress too much about it. We'll take care of it in school, and it'll go great. And actually, if you want to go to the next slide really quick, this is the breakdown if you don't remember, but for language arts, you're required to take it all 4 years of high school. So that's a tough one. So if any of you or your students have failed a language arts credit, we'll need to do some credit recovery. And usually that's in the form of Pride or summer school at Cottage Grove High School. We are planning on having summer school this year. We are just not sure what that will look like yet, but we are planning on having it. For the other classes, so for social studies, math, and science, there's 3 years or 9 credits required. So usually if they've taken it freshman, sophomore, junior year, they don't have to take it their senior year, but we definitely recommend at the very least taking a math class in the senior year. Because if you quit your junior year, take a year off, then try to go to college or a trade school or something like that, it makes it tough to jump back into math. And then 1 year of PE and health each, and then the rest are the CTE classes like Mr. Flores was talking about, and electives. So that's the credit breakdown. And then as a senior, they're also required to take a senior seminar, which breaks down to 3 trimesters. It's public speaking, principles of democracy, and personal finance. All really good classes to take. So again, if you look at your student's transcript, or if you have questions, if they failed the class at some point, please let me or Mrs. Evans know, and we will help get them back on track. Let's see, did I cover everything? All right, now we're on to Miss Guest.
All too eager to hand off that baton there, Rex. Okay. All right. So as I mentioned before, I'm Lacey Guest. I'm the College and Career Coordinator. So if there's any juniors out there, I might look vaguely familiar. I know I may not have even met you in person yet, but my face should look familiar. I've been in all of your classes so far this year. And I've been talking about next steps things. So I know during 10th and 11th grade parent night, we are just like focused on getting to the end of this school year and worrying about like hitting the graduation mark. But I want to just suggest that we think a little past graduation, even if it does feel a little bit early. So there are quite a few different ways that I get information out to both parents and students. And I wanted to start by just highlighting some of those for you guys. The Cottage Grove High School website is a great resource. There's a whole tab that says College and Career Counseling, and I like to refer to it as like the mecca of resources for everything next steps. So everything you need to know about virtual opportunities, job openings, job shadows, field trips, all of that kind of stuff will be found there. However, I know the kids don't really look at the website like we do. So I have an Instagram for the Career Center, and parents are welcome to follow as well. I know a lot of us adults also have Instagram accounts, and you guys are welcome to message me that way as well. I've gotten quite a few messages from parents and students alike on Instagram, so apparently that's a comfortable way to communicate. So if you ever have questions, you can reach out to me that way, but I also like to post all of the different opportunities coming up on Instagram as well. The Google Classroom, this year we started using Google Classroom for senior seminar. And I know the kids are probably sick of it, but I do plan to use it again for seniors next year. So for rising seniors, you will have a senior seminar Google Classroom with all sorts of information about scholarships and events and things like that. So I will, send this information out all sorts of different ways so you guys won't miss it. And lastly, I do send out a parent newsletter. For the rising seniors, so the current juniors, those parents will start receiving that newsletter for the month of April, May, and June. So you guys don't receive it all year long, but as we shift towards senior year, I start to make sure you guys are getting that information as well. All right, in terms of the college and career opportunities, who's presenting? Is it Kevin? Can you go to the Cottage Grove High School website for me real quick? It's just easier for me to run through it that way to show everybody.
I don't know about real quick, but I'll try.
Oh, Brian, yes, I can. I'll put it in the chat now I love after these events going to the Instagram page because all of a sudden I have like 10 new followers to the Career Center. All right, there's the site name. Perfect, thank you so much. All right, so at the top there, if you click on departments, and scroll down to College and Career Counseling. Thank you, Kevin. Okay, so this yellow box over here has all of the different information that you guys will need as you start to contemplate next steps. So whether our students or we as students are heading to four-year college, two-year college, trade school, military, there are endless options for you guys, and I try really hard to make sure that there are opportunities that correlate with those different options throughout the year. So I won't take you through every single one of these things, but I do want you guys to realize that this information is here. The one that's probably the most useful for you right now is going to be that upcoming virtual events tab. If you click on that, that's where you'll find the links to every guest speaker we're having, every webinar that's going on, every virtual industry tour in Lane County. So the links and dates and times are all listed here. So if you guys are interested in touring some colleges virtually, you're interested in learning more about apprenticeship programs virtually, all of this information is here. And the great part is everybody tends to record their webinars and tours. So if you miss the live version, you can always check out some of these opportunities later. So scroll back up to the top there. The last thing I want to mention on the website is that I know a lot of our rising juniors and seniors are always looking for jobs. And I like to help students find those. And so the job opportunities tab there, perfect. Thank you, Kevin. I know I'm throwing you for a loop as I just give you directions on the website. This page here, I try to keep tabs on who in Cottage Grove is hiring, because I realize it's not necessarily financially responsible to, you know, have a kid drive up to Eugene every single day for 20 hours of work. It's sometimes difficult for them in terms of transportation and money. So I try to keep tabs on what's going on in Cottage Grove. And so that local part-time job opportunities tab there, that one has a little list there with links of all the places that are hiring. So if your student is looking for work and doesn't quite know where to start, this is a great resource just to start looking at who is hiring. And if any students need help with that process, I'm happy to help. And hopefully next year, I will be populating more of the job shadows, internships, and field trips tabs that you may or may not see here. But next year, I am hopeful that we'll be able to get out of the building and into some industry tours and college campuses. All right, and I think I just have a couple more things to mention on the slide, and I think it's just financial aid stuff. So I just like to mention, and I'm sure you guys have heard this from Vicki and Rex before, but I just like to mention that financial aid is for everyone. A lot of students and parents alike will tune us out when we start to talk about next steps and financial aid, because a lot of folks seem to think that it's just for students going to a four-year university. And that's simply not the case, right? You can use financial aid at a trade school, if you're going to Springfield Welding School, if you're going to Northwest College of Beauty, Garden of Ink Tattoo School, all of these places accept some kind of financial aid, just like four-year universities and community colleges as well. So just keep your ears open in the future, in the next couple of years, when you hear us talking about scholarship dollars, because those are going to be available to almost every single student, and we will help direct them toward what financial aid opportunities are available to them based on what their post-high school plan is. And I think that's everything. Vicki, Rex, did I miss anything?
Do you just want to mention what the four-year free programs are? Because I think that's really important for parents to understand what that could look like.
Sure, yeah. So the 4 years free program, so 4 of the state universities, the public universities here in Oregon, so that's Oregon State University, Portland State University, University of Oregon, and Western Oregon University, all have some version of a 4 years free program, although only Portland State actually calls it that. The rest of them have come up with these like really fancy, catchy names. But the premise is the same. So 4 years free programs are for students who meet income requirements, and we'll know that when we fill out the FAFSA at the beginning of senior year. So for students who meet income requirements, and for students who have a 3.4 GPA or higher in high school. So this is high achieving students with who meet income requirements, and they are able to go directly from high school to a 4-year university, one of these 4, and have all of their tuition and fees paid for. Now, this doesn't pay for housing, but it certainly covers a huge chunk of money when it comes to costs associated with higher education. So for those of you who are thinking about heading to a 4-year university here in Oregon right after high school, and you want to learn a little bit more about it, feel free to come talk to me. I can always give you more specific information based on school and program and all that as well. And then I'll just mention Oregon Promise as well. Is that what you're going to say next, Vicki? Okay. So Oregon Promise is for students who are heading to community college. So again, a lot of people tune us out when we say this because students will think, oh, well, I'm not going to college, or, oh, you know, I don't want to go to Lane. But you can use Oregon Promise, which is free grant money at any community college in the state of Oregon. So if your student is like, no, I'm out of Cottage Grove, I want to live in Portland, great, they can enroll at Portland Community College. If they say, well, Lane doesn't have a vet tech program, so I guess I can't go, they can actually head out to Central Oregon Community College and use the Oregon Promise there. So the other thing about Oregon Promise that I think is just kind of a common misunderstanding is that you don't have to be going to get a 2-year degree or a transfer degree in order to use this money. If you want to do a 1-year certificate program in welding or a 2-year certificate program in diesel technology, if you want to become a EMT or you want to be a dental hygienist, all of these programs are covered under Oregon Promise. So I think students sometimes think that community college is just a stepping stone to a 4-year university, and that is simply not true. If they can get career training at our local and statewide community colleges. So keep Oregon Promise in mind. You just have to have a 2.5 cumulative high school GPA, meet some deadlines, and be an Oregon resident in order to qualify for that. So we will walk you guys all through that in your senior year. But I just like to remind everyone that Oregon Promise is for all of us. All right, I think that was it. Sorry, I know I talked for a long time. I'll pass the baton to whoever's next.
That's me. No, that's super good information. Thank you, Lacey. And we just finished, since I have the seniors, and Lacey's been really helpful with all the seniors as well. We just finished our scholarship kind of season. And so what we found is really important is that students need to start preparing now if they're thinking about getting a job, like Lacey was talking about, or applying for scholarships. And probably the most important thing is that their applications, their email address, everything is very professional. And so you might want to have that conversation with your kids. Definitely look at, their Facebook, social media, make sure that those posts would be appropriate in case maybe a potential employer decides, I just want to check out this student or this person to see if this is, if it's between a couple people. Let's just look and see what's on their social media. So it's very, very important that they look to make sure everything is appropriate. And then also their email address. One thing that I don't think parents realize is that students use their school email address for everything, not only for school, but they use their school email address for looking at scholarships and financial aid and applying to colleges because it's just easy. That's what they're using and looking at a lot. But just realize the day after graduation, so this year, June 13th, well, actually that Monday after, our technology department will close all of their accounts because at that point they're no longer students here and they will have all of their accounts closed. So we actually didn't realize that that was happening until a year or two ago when kids became frantic. So we now are letting students know, please use your personal Gmail account. Make sure it is appropriate, the address. I think nowadays it is. There was a time years ago when kids used pretty funny and sometimes inappropriate email addresses. Now I think everybody's pretty consistent, but we really want to make sure all of their personal information, school information, financial aid, job applications, everything's covered with their personal account. And no matter what they're doing, if they're applying for an apprenticeship or an internship, or they're sending a thank you letter, to somebody that they did a job shadow with, whatever it is, they really need to proofread. And then it's important that they don't use all of those abbreviations, the LOLs and the text speaks, that they get in the habit of writing those out, because we are transitioning from young adults into that adulthood. And so we want to make sure that they're getting the jobs and getting into the schools that they want. So just a few pointers, and we'll address this with our students next year as well. We kind of talk about it each year as they come up, but just one other thing to keep in mind as they're finishing up school. And I think that was pretty much it for me.
And I don't see Mr. Myers here, so I'll jump in and do the athletics piece. So this year, obviously very shortened seasons because of what we had to do with the pandemic and with COVID. So we're wrapping up right now season 2, and we're getting ready to kick off season 3. So season 3 would be our traditional spring sports, so it'd be baseball, softball, and track. And then season 4 will close the actual school year this year, and that will be our winter sports. So if we're able to play basketball, wrestle, that kind of thing, those would be our traditional season 4 sports that will end the year. If your student is planning on participating, they need to make sure that you register on the family ID, and then the eligibility requirements are there. Currently, we are allowed in the way the metrics are now. So we started off the season not being able to have spectators, and now we are currently allowed to have 25% capacity. And so there's an e-ticketing feature that we're using in order to make sure that we're not selling more tickets than people that are allowed in the venue. And then here's our contact information. So if you have any questions at all, feel free to get a hold of any of us. As you can see, Vicky and Rex and Lacey are probably your best bets to getting specific questions answered right away in terms of registration and next steps. But the administrative staff is also able and willing to answer questions. We're just not as good at those jobs as the counselors and the career center folks are. So we encourage you to go directly to them as much as possible. I think that concludes the program. So Rex, if you want to stop recording, we will